Hello and welcome to another quick tour for Cartographica version 1.2. In this screencast, I will be speaking about geocoding. So Cartographica offers three different methods for geocoding data. You can geocode using XY information. You can geocode using Census street files, or a new feature of version 1.2 is that you can geocode using a Bing geocoder. And so I'm going to show you the process for each of those steps. So the first one I'm going to show you is the XY geocoder, and to do that we're going to click on File and Import Table Data. And we are going to, I have some crime data for the city of Washington, and we're going to click on it and click Open. And this is the Import File window, and this window allows us to set up how we choose to geocode our data. And so because we're going to use coordinate information, you can see there's three tabs up here. We're going to use the coordinate tab, and we're going to find where in our crime data there is XY field. So we can see right here in the middle we have latitude and longitude fields, and what we're going to do is under the map to column we're going to match up these two fields with their appropriate X and Y columns. So we have latitude, longitude matched with X and Y, and you can see once we've set those up, import is now available. So all we have to do is click import, and I think this file has something like 37,000 crimes in it, so it takes just a second to geocode. But once it does, we can observe the data. So you can see on screen now, looks like black blobs all over the screen. That's because if you look over in the layer stack, all of the geocoded points are black, and we can simply adjust that by double-clicking to our layer styles window and just changing the color. And so we can see on screen now we have all of our blue points indicating crime information. So that's geocoding using XY data. And so we're going to X out of that, and then we're going to import table data again. Actually, let me show you this first. We're going to click on Tools and click on Geocoder Options. And you can see that when we click on that, we have this window, and there are two tabs. There's a Bing geocoder, which we're going to use now, and an internal geocoder. And so depending on which way you want to geocode, you select between these two tabs. So currently we want to use the Bing geocoder, so we're going to select the Bing geocoder tab and click OK. And now we're going to use that same process where we click File and Import Table Data. And this time we are going to geocode hospitals in the city. So we'll click on the hospitals file there, and then open the DBF file, and the same import file window will appear. And in this case we're going to use the geocode tab because we're going to geocode using address data. So you can see we have an address field here, and where it says map to in the new column, we're going to click the arrows and click address 1 and match that up. And because we're using the Bing geocoder, we can limit where we want to search for addresses. So in this case we want to look for addresses only in the city of Washington, D.C. So we can fill in this information here, and then that will limit Bing's search area. So we'll click import, and in just 1 second we'll see all the points indicating where hospitals are in the city. And then what we can do is double click on file again, and again we'll change the color, use a green color this time. So we can see on screen we have green points indicating hospitals. And another new feature of Cartographica that I want to show you at this point is the re-geocoder. So if we can re-geocode our data and get a little bit more information that this initial geocoding process doesn't provide. So if we want to do that, we're going to highlight the layer we want to re-geocode, and we're going to come up here to Tools, and then we're going to come down to where it says Geocode Uncoded in Layer, and we're going to hold down the Option button, and you'll see it change. Do that a couple times so you see it. So it'll say Geocode Layer, and that's what we want to click on. And then this window will appear. And again, in address 1, we're going to have the address field selected. City and state, again, we're going to have Washington, D.C. But now at the bottom, you can see there was 4 check boxes. And essentially what these will add to our database is fields representing the final address used to geocode, the final full address, which will include the final address plus some additional information such as the city and state. And then the geocoder source and score tell us this. The source tell us what geocoder we used. Did we use the internal geocoder, or did we use the Bing geocoder? In this case, we're using the Bing geocoder. And then the geocoder score tells us how good of a match we had when we conducted this geocoding process. So once we select those 4 options here, we'll just click geocode. It doesn't appear like anything happens, but what really is changing is the information down here in the bottom. So what we're adding is these 4 columns. We have the geocoding with the full address, the partial address, the score. So it looks like all of our points geocoded at a high score, and then it also tells us where and how we geocode the data. So you can see the Bing geocoder. And then I'm going to show you the last step is geocoding using a more traditional method, which is geocoding using Census street files. So first I'm going to click on File and Import Vector Data, and I'm going to add the street segments file, which is right there. And so all of the streets in the city of Washington, D.C. will appear on screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this file, because if we look at the information down below, and I'll make the data viewer a bit bigger here, you can see that this is where all the address information is stored. So we have from address right, from address left, and that indicates the number on which side of the street. And the geocoder uses that to identify where exactly on the map a point should be located. And so we're going to use that street file to geocode our next bit of information. So we're going to click on Tools and click on that Geocoder Options button again. And we're back to this window. And remember, before we clicked Bing Geocoder to use the Bing Geocoder. Now we're going to click the internal geocoder. And we're going to geocode using layer. We have to make sure that we select this and use the street segment, because again, that's where our address information is located. And Cartographica requires a number of specific fields to be filled in order to accurately geocode information. So the street name field is required, and depending on the data you use, the street name field will be, it could be labeled street name, or it could be something else. So for example, in this street segment data that were downloaded from the Washington DC GIS catalog, the street name is labeled registered, the registered street name. So we'll click that. Street type is labeled street type conveniently. Direction is not required as a minimal bit of information to geocode, so we can leave that blank for now. But numbers from and numbers to are required. And the way it works is this is the left side and this is the right side. So we're going to use, so for example, for numbers from, we'll find from address, and because we're in the left column of the 2, this is the 1, so it's from address. And then you'll see numbers from again, we'll find the from address, and see it has this little R here that indicates it's from address right. And then same goes for the numbers 2. So we'll come down here and we'll have to address L, which is the left side, and to address right, or to address R, which is the right side. And that's the base information we need in order to correctly geocode. And we could add additional information to this in order to make it more accurate. If we wanted to add zip codes, we could, all kinds of stuff. But I don't think this street file has a zip code layer, or a field inside of it, so we won't do that here. But as long as you have this basic information, you'll be fine for geocoding. So we'll click OK. Now the geocoder is set up, and now we're going to bring in, using the same process, file and import table data, we're going to bring in our other information that we want to geocode. So this time we're going to geocode fire stations. So click on fire stations, bring in the DBF file, click open. The same import file window will appear. Same process with finding the address. So address, we're going to match address up to address 1. And this time we're not required to set up the city and state, because the street file is the place where we're getting all of our information from. So unlike the Bing geocoder, where it has access to all addresses across the United States, essentially, our street segment file only has address data for the Washington DC area. It's not a full set of addresses like Bing is. So we are not required to set up the city and state in the same way. So we can just click import. And now we will see our fire stations geocoded on top of our street file, indicated by black points. We can adjust that again in a similar way. Being that our streets are red, we can change make them a nice blue color on top there so you can see them a little better on screen. And there are our fire stations that we've geocoded using this traditional Census street file. And all that kind of data is downloadable from the Census website. And that is geocoding using Cartographica version 1.2. Thank you for listening.